Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to react to the video Is Being Fat a Choice, which is making the rounds on Instagram and YouTube because it is extremely polarizing. People have a lot of strong feelings about it. And the way it's formatted is a simple debate that opposes fat and fit men. So on one side you have people who might be overweight to obese, and on the other you have people who are very serious about bodybuilding or about being jacked. And I perfectly understand why so many people have sent me that video asking for my reaction. I think that it's extremely thought-provoking. So even though I usually don't make that type of format because I find that React content is very lazy and boring, I'm going to break my rule for this one time, for two reasons. One, because the question of is being fat a choice is right down my alley. It's actually about philosophy. It's a question that takes into account sociological patterns and concepts that are extremely important to discuss, very interesting, and it's stuff that I love to talk about. Things about like the psychology of fitness that are highly underrated that I discuss all the time. So this is really just an excuse for me to delve into these topics that I believe are important for you to hear about. And then the second reason why I think that making a react about this video is important is also because I think it's a chance for me to add some nuance. Because as I said, this debate, this topic is extremely polarizing. You're either all for it or against it. It's black and white. And that is detrimental. We need nuance in this type of discussion, and I believe that on the topic of fatness, I will be able to add nuance to it. So that is why I decided to make this video. And since it's my first time making a react, it might be a little bit unstructured, but I suppose it's the point. I didn't prepare anything. As you can see, I don't have any pieces of paper or notes. I haven't watched it, so it's going to be super spontaneous. I'm going to just react, and I'm going to listen to what the people have to say. I'm going to pause whenever I have something to add. But since the original segment is already super long, it's like an hour plus, I'm not going to react to the entire thing because it would be like 4 hours long. So instead, I will do a full spontaneous react, and then in post-production, I'm going to edit out the things that are not that important for the simple reason also that if I put the entire video on my channel, it could get a strike. It has to be transformative. So if you want to listen to the debate without being interrupted by a Frenchman, absolutely go for it, look it up, it's the exact title that I put in my title. I also want to do it like this because that way it's less lazy. I personally cannot fucking stand when someone just clicks play on a video and then you just have their face on the side and they like point and they say, yeah, preach. Motherfucker, you're not doing anything, you're stealing content from someone else. Here there is going to be some added value. So, since this is going to be long, like all of my formats, I highly recommend that you get yourself a very comfortable chair like mine. You get yourself a drink. For me today it's water and lime and maybe even a snack. You chill out, you relax, and you enjoy this segment. But before we start, if once you're done with the video you decide that you like my work, please consider supporting the channel on Ko-fi. It's the first link in the description. A pledge of $3 a month might not seem like much to you, but to me it makes a big difference because if enough people do it, I can spend more time making these videos. Alright, so let's get started. The first question, point of contention is, I've felt disgusted looking at a fat body.
Well, it's unacceptable to be fat.
Okay, that's a great start. I mean, I know why you say that.
I'm already posing, but like if you open a debate like this, you already know that your goal is going to be antagonistic in nature, right? Because you are already using an absolute. And this is something that I could say, because I sort of agree also. You're letting yourself go. It's a form of self-disrespect, so it's unacceptable. But this is polarizing, and we'll see that, of course, both sides are going to try and do that.
But it's one of those things where, do you know why you're saying that?
Yes, because I've been fat before and I lost the weight.
Well, me too. I've been fat my whole life. I've been way skinnier than I am now, and I've been way heavier than I am now. Was I less valuable at one point in there?
Well, I mean, you can make an argument that you're less valuable when you're fatter because you drain resources, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I mean, in general, being fat is unacceptable because you control every single morsel of food that goes into your mouth.
Okay.
Okay, I want to pause here. I didn't do any research about these dudes. I know Fresh and Fit by name. I don't consume that type of content because I'm 30 and married, so I'm not the target demographic. But he said something very interesting here that is scarcely discussed. Yes, if you are fat, you are consuming resources that go towards making you fatter, which is detrimental to your health. So not only are you hurting yourself, you're also literally wasting resources, which is interesting because in this day and age where we focus so much about, not taking too many showers, don't take the plane too much, you're killing the planet. The one demographic that is never targeted by this is fat people when they are the ones who are gluttonous, right? It's by nature, gluttony creates obesity. I think that this should also be pointed out because wasting food is also wasting resources. So it's bad. And then the question of value. Are you less valuable when you're fat? Depends on what type of value we talk about. Are we talking about dating value on the sexual market? In this case, yes. Be it for gay men, be it for straight men, if you're fat, you're going to have less opportunities because the people that are attracted to you are going to find you less valuable. Unless, of course, you end up with someone who is a chubby chaser or who likes fat people as a fetish. But for the majority of the time, every single person looks more attractive and is therefore more valuable if they lose weight. Then are you less valuable as a human being, as a soul? No, absolutely not. But that is a different discussion. And the fact that that guy, the Fresh and Fit guy, used to be fat doesn't surprise me at all. The number one most aggressively fat-phobic demographic is ex-fat people because they know how much it sucks.
Shows a lack of discipline, it shows a lack of character, it shows a lack of temperance, and when you're fat, it's an outward manifestation of your inadequacies.
When I see somebody who's 500 or 600 pounds, all I can think of is, why do they care so little about their health that they can do this, allow themselves to gain that much weight, knowing it's taken 20, 30, 40 years off their life? I just can't imagine not wanting.
Fucking Greg Doucette. Can we pause here and point out the hypocrisy of this statement? The guy is on PEDs. He's also taking 20, 30 years off of his life. So he is correct about fat people doing that to themselves, but you can be correct and still be wrong because there is a level of disconnect and cognitive dissonance here that I have to point out. And we'll see that it's going to come times and times again because they invited 2 PED users on this platform to talk about being fat. And we'll see that these people don't seem to recognize or understand how ironic some of their statements can be.
I just can't understand.
You can't
nobody
assume that
thinking
everyone
that.
has the same opinion though, because unfortunately, some people have emotional stuff that happened, traumatic stuff that's happened, so you can't discount and just say, oh, because they're fat.
Boo-hoo, man. Like, there's way worse stuff going out in the world versus
Absolutely.
people saying, oh my God, I'm sad, I'm good.
This is what I cannot fucking stand about these dudes, is that we're the exact same, but the one thing that separates us is empathy. Saying, oh, boo-hoo, poor you. Yeah, of course, if you are the type of person who is extremely fit and who's made that choice and that difference, you feel superior to others, and so you think, well, these people lack something that I have, so I'm better than them. In a sense, these guys are correct, but to express that outright is extremely arrogant, and to me, it's a sign of people who are getting into this for the wrong reasons. They're not there to help people, they're there to feel better and to feel superior. Yes, absolutely, there are people who have been through traumatic stuff and they didn't end up fat, but it means absolutely nothing, you're not the same person. We don't react and we don't respond the same to trauma. And it's something that I've had to learn also because as a teacher, as an educator, I deal with people who are not me, who are not hardened like me, and are not inferior, they're just different. If you approach it by saying you're a pussy or a bitch, you're losing these people. And the fit side is going to demonstrate that times and times again, an inability to project themselves into someone else's shoes.
You live in the best country ever. If you live in a civilized first world country where you have electricity, internet power, etc., you deserve to be bullied. It's ridiculous to me that we have all these fat people running around. Meanwhile, people are being bombed in Gaza. It's ridiculous. We are so privileged here in the United States and in the West in general. When I see a fat person, I'm like, wow, you got the gift of life. You got the gift of being in a developed country, and you're a fat POS talking about body positivity on TikTok? What the hell is going on?
The reason why there's so many fat people in the West is because we are hyper-privileged. That's why. There's the reason why if you go to Gaza and you walk around the streets, you will not see a single fat person. Because when you're being bombed, it's sort of hard to stuff your face with Twinkies. Same with Africa. You go to Africa, you go to African countries, you won't see many fat people because they have other problems. In the West, we have removed so many of these problems through the industrial revolution, through the mechanization of practices and tasks, that now we have that time. We also have an abundance of products that are extremely palatable that make us fat. So here there is a disconnect, a misunderstanding about the historic development of obesity. There is a reason why people in America are obese. It's because, yes, America is such a great country that you can literally get obese easily. It's not a problem at all.
Okay.
We need to bring shaming back in so many other regards besides obesity. We need to do it with sluts. We need to shame fat people. We need to shame everybody when they fuck up. Because shame has been one of the strongest defenses against degeneracy and human fuck ups.
You had a personal experience you wanted to share. You said you used to be overweight. Now you're not.
Oh yeah. So I did an experiment back in like 2015 where I like bulked for like almost 2 years, and I got up to like 250 pounds, and then I dieted down. It took me about 7 months. I systematically did it, controlled my calories, tracked my macros, tracked my protein, carbs, fats, and systematically lost 1 to 2 pounds per week.
All right, this video is going to be long as fuck because everything that they say I want to weigh in on, but I guess it's what a React is supposed to be about. So if you clicked on this, you're in for the long haul. He said very interesting things here. First and foremost, shame. The civilizational impact of shame. He has a point. Societies that shame are societies that tend to produce excellence. They also tend to produce worsened mental health. It's a choice to make. Do you want a society that is going to tend towards an aristocracy of sorts, where the people that can't make it get kicked to the wayside? Or do you want one that is more permissive, where mediocrity is going to be much more prevalent, but people feel better about themselves? I think that this is in itself a discussion that is worth having. I would be much more inclined towards the first side, because I prefer excellence over mediocrity, even if it creates suffering. But of course, there is a balance to be met here. And as far as the systematic ability to lose weight, that is going to be pointed out, I hope, by one of these two fatzos. But it is, of course, easy to lose the weight you've gained if you intended to gain the weight. I've done it too. I've bulked to 240, then I lost it and I went down to 190. Why? Because I had to stuff my face to gain that weight. I didn't like gaining that weight. It wasn't a habit. But what if you are obese or fat as part of a lifestyle? And people tell you, like him, well, just lose 1 to 2 pounds a week or a month, bro. Yeah, if they could do that, they would. It's just that they do not have the habits ingrained in themselves to do that. And of course, the fit side wouldn't understand that shit. Because for the vast majority of the bodybuilding population, the issue is gaining weight. The bulk is the hard part. Losing the weight part is easy. It just means stop stuffing your face and do more cardio.
Okay, so the reason I disagreed, especially when I heard the statement, I don't think I'll ever look at somebody based on their situation and think that I'm disgusted. Like, if I see somebody that's a drug addict on the street that's homeless, I'm not disgusted by that.
I mean, yeah, you wouldn't be disgusted by a drug addict because you are a drug addict. PD users need to remind themselves that being a drug addict doesn't mean being on the street or homeless or taking a shit on San Francisco Boulevard. It means that you're addicted to a substance. If you take PEDs to this level, like he does, you are addicted, you also are a junkie.
That's incredibly overweight. I'm not disgusted by that. Do I think that there's an opportunity for growth? Do I think they've been put in a disadvantageous position that's probably makes it harder for them? Absolutely.
You can get fat and lose the weight if you know what you're doing and you have the knowledge and everything else like that. It's just about consistency over time. So it's like, I look at it like...
let me cut you off, because here's one thing that you just said.
Yeah.
You had the tools. So there's people that don't have the tools that you've passed judgment on, and you have failed to realize that with the tools, people are very much capable of achieving amazing things. But
okay, let's talk about set tools.
No, hold on, I'm not done.
Why you cut me off
I'm
before,
not done.
remember?
And I stood over there and I listened to you, and I was like, it's a ton of bullshit too.
Sure.
But we're gonna address this, right?
Yeah.
You are passing judgment on people who lack the tools to do what it is that they need to do to get themselves to a certain point of health. There are multitudes of factors that weighs into...
If you summarize what he's saying right now, he's essentially saying the reason why I couldn't lose weight and the reason why people can't lose weight is because we are lacking in resources. So give us more resources and maybe we'll lose the weight. But even if you give these people the resources, they will never lose the weight. And it's a misdirection. These people know it. It's an excuse. It's a way to take the responsibility away from them by saying, it's not my fault. I don't have the tools. The perfect example of this is, I don't know, I'm certain you've seen this picture if you spend a lot of time on the internet, on fitness spheres. It's that picture of a grocery haul with a bunch of fruits and vegetables, and then a ridiculously high bill, and someone who had the text saying, see, this is how much it costs to eat healthy. So therefore, fat people are not really to blame because it's just that they're poor. And then you look at the actual foods that they bought, and they bought fucking pineapples and blueberries in the middle of summer, or in the middle of winter. And it's like, yeah, of course, it's expensive. You went out of your way to buy the most expensive shit. How about you buy kale? quinoa, spinach, brown rice, chicken, broccoli, all of this shit is literally cheaper than the processed garbage that most fat people stuff their face with. I know what I'm talking about. I used to live with $690 a month in the US of A, and I was able to eat healthy. I was able to not eat processed garbage. I didn't have the tools back then. I was still getting jacked. So that type of excuses to me is just not acceptable, and it's actually insulting to the intelligence of people who listen to it.
But does that mean that I'm not active? Does that mean that I'm not doing certain things? No, it doesn't. But you're passing judgment on somebody's body that you know nothing about. Now, on the flip side, what if I turned around and I did the same thing to you? You're talking about how fit and stuff that you are, but you're over there and you're small as compared to these other guys.
He has a fucking point though. And I hope you see the point, and it's not the topic of the video, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Look at the size difference between the enhanced bodybuilders and the ones that are supposed to represent the natural side. It's night and fucking day. So the dude has a point. He's like, see, I mean, you're smaller than them. Does that make you worse? Hey, he has a point. Maybe it does make him worse, because if we go by this token, maybe it means that he knows less, or maybe it means that he's lazier. That is, and I'm certain that you've noticed it, logically unsound, but on the basis of emotion, he got him there.
That's a little.
You said shame, right?
Yeah.
So how does that feel if someone comes up and they start shaming you for size? Like, come on, it goes both ways.
We're just in the first
So,
prompt. We got to be
here's the
careful
thing.
about targeting each other too directly. You
No, I mean, I'm not offended. It's fine. He's emotional,
no, it goes
and that's fine.
in every direction.
He's obviously very triggered.
I'm
But yeah,
not
so let's
triggered.
start.
Oh, come the fuck on. Okay, right-wing bros, stop with the triggering nonsense. It also goes for the other side. Everyone uses it now. Oh, you're emotional. Bro, you're emotional too. He's pissed. He's salty as fuck. Il a le seum, as we say in French. That, I'm going to say the plump gentleman got to his feelings. He pissed him off because he pointed out that, yes, indeed, the guy doesn't look like he lifted. He might be lean, but he's small as fuck. And his body on the left is also small as fuck. So what does it make us here? We could also pass shame on these people and pass judgment. Here's the thing. If you pass judgment on people, you have to be willing to accept that people are going to pass judgment on you. That is master morality. Slave morality is thinking you're going to be able to pass judgment on someone and be protected, or worse, asking that no one passes judgment. All of that is garbage, needs to be pushed aside.
Let's hit the first part, tools. What are the tools? The tools are simply knowledge, which you can get for free on the internet. If you have the ability and the discipline to go out there and get the knowledge, then you're gonna lose weight. It's just that simple. It's just that people wanna always make excuses for why, oh, my feelings, oh, I don't know what, you don't know what people are going through, blah, blah, blah. No.
This
you
guy
can
is
watch your calories,
unsufferable,
you can
and
go
this
to the
is
gym,
why
you
masculinity
have time to
gurus
do it.
are
People just like
hated.
to make excuses.
I don't think anyone's debating that weight loss is impossible here. I think the question is, why do you hate fat people, that you feel the disgust towards it?
Well, like I said before, it's a culmination of a bunch of bad decisions. I'm not going to go ahead and give the same level of respect to someone who's a fat ass to someone that has worked really hard and diligently on their physique.
But why would you look at them and be disgusted versus concerned? That is a very specific word, and it has very specific connotations behind it. And when it's used, it's somewhat weaponized as well.
I don't think we can help how we feel. I don't think I can choose like, oh, I just am not. It would be sitting here and lying. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm always going to be honest with people. I'm disgusted. This is just how I feel.
The thing is, when you see a fat person, the reason why it's disgusting and the reason why there's so much pushback on this whole body positivity, and people make fun of Lizzo, rightfully so, by the way, is because it's unattractive, it's unhealthy. Until we had this woke era, they used to put like models and attractive people on the cover of magazines.
This guy is like a manosphere right-wing bingo. Degeneracy, woke, feelings, triggered. Take a shot every time he says one of these words.
Fat people, people that, identify as 97 genders, whatever, they expect us to change our worldview
shot.
for them, and that's just not how the world works. Like, it's
Why
been that
don't
way,
you
it's
wanna
always going to
change
be
your
that way.
worldview? That's the thing that I don't get.
How the world works. How the world works. What does that even fucking mean? How the world works. We decide how the world works. A healthy dose of postmodernist philosophy is needed here. If you had a society that had no disgust reflex towards fat people, then that would also be how the world works. Understanding that this can change, the way societies function can change, is integral, because if your reaction to change and to woke and to progressivism is, well, that's not how the world works, you're wrong and you're going to lose that war, because one way it will be the way the world works. The argument should be about why is it bad? Why is it not a good thing for the totality of the population to espouse? Why is it a nihilistic, dangerous ideology? That is much more interesting.
The body positivity movement is problematic. Will you
Okay,
agree
this
or
one is going
step
to be
forward?
interesting. The level of arguments should fly higher than the ground, hopefully.
Well, I think where it becomes a problem is obviously you should be comfortable in your body, and if you genuinely love how you look, great, but you can't ignore your health. But I know people that, you know, that are my size or bigger, and they have cholesterol problems, heart problems, diabetes. I have none of that. So the body positivity movement becomes a problem when you hide behind the shield of, oh, I should love my body, da 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 da. Great, but you have to be healthy too. You can't ignore your vitals. You gotta like check yourself on the inside.
Yeah, I think the big thing is
It's good to
you
hear
have to separate the health
a fat guy say
implication
that.
with you just being confident, right? Like I'm all for people to feel confident in their own skin. I think body positivity movement has been beneficial for plus size people in that regard, right? Because let's say there's a plus size person who's too embarrassed to go to the gym because they feel like they're gonna be judged, whatever it is. But it's because of body positivity. They're like, oh, hey, like I see other plus size people in the gym. Maybe I'm gonna give it a try. And all of a sudden they start going. They're like, oh man, I like this, right? And they keep it going. You can argue that without body positivity, maybe that day would have never happened for that person, right? But I think the problematic part really comes down to people extrapolating body positivity, shaming a celebrity like, let's say Adele, for losing weight, right? That's where I would kind of draw the line there.
Or promoting Lizzo.
Yeah, this guy makes horrible, unsufferable content on Instagram, but he makes good points, and he is absolutely correct in this. He stated two absolute facts. Yeah, it's great that fat people go to the gym. It's great that they're encouraged and they feel at home in the gym, because if anyone needs to go to the gym, it's them. It's absolutely needed. And then on the other side, you see the true face of some fat people, some body positivity gurus, who suddenly, when someone decides to lose weight, are going to lash out at them. Why? Because they don't like the feelings it projects onto them. They don't like the message it projects, because they see someone who is doing what they should be doing, which shows that all of their confidence is bullshit. If you lash out at someone who lost the weight, it shows that it's because you're jealous of them. And so you're trying to create this bizarre world where they somehow are the villains. This is, by the way, exactly what slave morality is. It is the projection of moral values that are detrimental to people because they are not confident enough, that is the term, to face the reality of what would make them happier, because that reality would take efforts and it would take suffering, but at the end of the day, much less suffering than just living in a body that you fucking hate.
Adele for losing weight, but promoting Lizzo for being a fat ass. Unacceptable.
Do we feel, are a lot of people doing that?
I think the thing around Lizzo is it's not just the weight, it's the lifestyle. You like see her drinking all the time and partying and not sleeping. There's like so little to do with health. It's not just she's promoting like loving yourself, which I think is great. She's promoting a lifestyle that is unhealthy, like being very overweight, drinking, not sleeping. All of these things are not conducive to your health. So I think you conflate that. And sure, being body positive is important, like loving yourself, loving the way you look. But if that's gonna influence other people to make bad decisions about their body and their health, that's problematic.
Body positivity is disempowering people. It's making them think that they're healthy at any size, which they're not. And so as soon as you start telling people, hey, just love your body, like Lizzo will literally rub her belly and said, you're giving me all this power as she's eating a burger and she's promoting being obese. By doing this, you're just ruining it for people who actually should think, wait a minute, I can lose weight. I can go to the gym. I can eat less. I can do this.
Holy shit, Greg is making a ton of sense. That is crazy. The words that he used match perfectly. It's disempowering. You know, we talk a lot about empowerment nowadays, empowering women, empowering minorities and fat people, but most of these movements do the exact opposite, because they remove their personal responsibility, they remove their agency, and they give them excuses. So it makes these people revert back into childhood. That is what being a child is. People find excuses for you because you're not ready yet. But if you're an adult, you have the tools, you have everything you need, so you are ready and you can be better. And your best self is only going to be accessed once you accept this. Greg is also talking about something that is called poisoning the well. When you poison the well, it's when you subvert culture. And what happens when you subvert culture is that not only do you hurt the people that are already in the culture, you hurt the people to come. This is why the well is poisoned. The next voyager that comes to drink at the well is going to also drink the toxic nihilistic ideology. So this perpetuates cycles of fatness. So in a sense, yes, it is absolutely correct to state that body positivity creates more fat people who are going to be more miserable.
The problem with body positivity isn't necessarily what it stands for, and I feel like there's a misconception because there are those people that they use it to justify fatness and my response to it was, well, if you're championing body positivity, then what I'm doing should not be a problem, because the entire time that I've been advocating for people that look like me or people who have been othered in any capacity in general is that all bodies are good bodies. What we do with our body is what matters. And so body diversity is important to me because for a guy like you or a guy like the two of you might suffer from body dysmorphia. And that's a very real thing. You might not see yourself for what you really are. And so you're seeking unhealthy habits to achieve a goal.
Okay, that guy is astute. I don't know if he's done his research or anything, but like he's pointing out things that within the fitness community, the fit community is a plague because we all lived and we're all doing so well. Why are we also plagued with all of these issues? That is an absolutely valid point. It's because we are constantly unhappy with the bodies that we have. We always want more, and this is what propels us forward, but it also creates a lot of anguish within us. And so this idea of body diversity, although not really one that I'm comfortable with or familiar with at all, would make a lot of sense if it allowed people to understand that your body was given to you at birth and it will get fitter, jacker, bigger, etc. But it will always be your body, and there are things you can never change. And being at peace with what you can never change and working hard on the things you can change, that is the way to go forward. But the extreme on both sides are bad. Thinking you can change everything is bad because it's not true. Thinking you can change nothing is bad because it's going to keep you stagnant. I like this guy. I changed my mind. I like this guy.
In it, in all aspects, like mentally, physically, you've got to find the right avenue to do what it is that you need to do for yourself. I genuinely do love my body.
Right now, as you are?
Yeah.
Then why are you going to the gym?
And I'll explain to you.
Then why are you going to the gym?
I will explain.
This guy doesn't understand that his arguments make no sense. If you love your body, why are you going to the gym? I don't know. Why are you? Idiot. We all keep going to the gym because we can exist in a state of acceptance and love, while at the same time wanting more. It's what I explained previously, nuance, balance. For now, this guy on the right is just crushing every single logical argument that Fit Bro is trying to make.
I love the fact that at my size, I can do a lot of things that other people smaller than me still cannot do.
But you want to lose weight, though.
And yeah, right.
Which is good.
I want to lose weight because I love my body, but I have one body. Why would I not love it?
Yeah.
And because I love my
But you
body
understand
is
that your
why
body
I'm
now needs to be
looking to
changed.
make changes.
Yeah,
right.
make changes.
But to say that loving your body is BS, no, you make changes. You make healthy changes to yourself because you love yourself.
He has a point. He's talking about the permanence of an idea here. The fact that it is absolutely essential for the process to work and to stick to it, to love your body to start with. Because, and I've done it, so I can tell you that for a fact, if your goal is to destroy your body and you use hate as a fuel, it will work at the start and then it will destroy you. The rest of my journey has been a journey of love and a journey of acceptance. And this is what has allowed me to keep going forward.
That's a labor of love because I love myself enough to know that I want to make some changes to live a better lifestyle in the sense of I can just do a little bit more.
All right, let's bring in our disagreeers.
So it's not a single problem.
Oh, no, I'm not saying there's not a single problem. To me, body positivity is more about bodily autonomy. Like you were mentioning wanting to lose weight. My whole thing is like, yeah, it's your body, do whatever you want with it. I don't think I, as a human being, have a right to tell any of you what to do with your bodies.
And by the way, just to wait on that for a second, I spoke about Western countries. In reality, I should say individualistic countries. Because you will have noticed that these countries are the ones where obesity is the most rampant for what he just said. Because we exist in countries where freedom is paramount and you are the king and master of your own body and no one is allowed to say shit about it. So even destroying your body is your prerogative. Go to an Asian country and be fat. People will literally pinch your cheeks. People will call you fatso. And I say Asian country. Go to a country where there are Latinos. Go to an Hispanic country like Mexico. You know what they're going to call you as a nickname? Gordito or gordita. And it's affectionate, but it's also a way to be like, hey, you're fat. Why? Because these are societies where you are still perceived as an extension of the collective. So if you get fat, it's perceived as you having an impact on the rest of the people. And this is a complete divide of civilization, right? Of course, collectivist systems have a lot of problems. You look at Japan, for example, with the crazy crushing culture of the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. It's impossible to express yourself and be unique. You have to be like everybody else. It's a give and take. But for the question of obesity, it's absolutely correct that the notion of individualism is a direct reason why it is so prevalent in our countries. I say our countries because I'm European, as I think you can tell.
As a human being, have inherent value. Just in the fact that you are a conscious soul on this planet, you have an inherent value. You
Universalism,
are within a vessel
humanism,
of
yes.
your body that you do have control over, but at the same time, you're not less valuable to society or from the standpoint of the soul for what your body looks like. Do you think just being in a fat body and being in the public space encourages obesity, just flat out?
Yes.
People don't look at you and think, oh, let me go be as fat as that guy. They think, oh, it's okay. It's okay to behave like this. This is where shame comes into play too. When you shame an individual, you also shame the collective. And you tell everyone, hey, if you behave like this, we, the collective, are going to go after you, the individual. So do not behave like that. It's a game of mirror. And of course, you could say, well, that's incredibly cruel. Yeah, but we also still do that to this day with the justice system. Right? Horrible example, like a celebrity commits a devious crime against a woman. That guy is going to be shamed by everyone. Why? Because that way other men are going to reflect and think, okay, if I do this and I get caught, I'm going to also be shamed and I'm going to be ostracized. And I don't want that. That's what humans fear the most. So when you used to have a society that shamed fat people, you saw less fat people as a result. And a society that has stopped doing that, in a sense, normalizes it, which leads to more fat people. It's a continuous cycle of more fat people in the public sphere, more acceptance for fatness, more fat people, etc., etc. Let's see what Greg has to say about that.
But I've
It's going to
never
encourage
looked at-
other people to, well, hey, look at him. He's got
So
lots
then
of...
what about when I
I've
go
never
to the
looked at
gym? When I step into the gym, or when Zach steps into the gym, or when any of us step into the gym, are we promoting being bigger like
This
that?
guy is
too?
sharp. And the answer to that is, of course not, because you are in a gym. So you are, in a sense, accepting the shame and you are making a commitment towards becoming better. And in that sense, you are fine. It's like saying, hey, is someone who's an alcoholic who goes to Alcoholics Anonymous promoting alcoholism? Well, of course not. He's in a setting where he recognizes that the alcoholism is a problem. But if that person goes out drinking in a different environment, then yes, he promotes drinking. And I want to point out that, of course, it's not just about fatness. If you look at America, for example, drinking culture is prevalent. Why? Everyone drinks. It's part of the lifestyle. And so people follow the lifestyle. People are followers. I also want to point out the obvious too, the fact that this also applies to PED users. PED users, simply by existing, promote PED use. Why? Not because they're going around selling syringes to kids saying, hey, inject yourself, or even because they might say, well, I'm so happy to be on PEDs, look at me, I'm great, but simply because they're there and they're tantalizing. They're tantalizing in the sense that you look at them and you think, oh, I could be like that if I take drugs, let me take drugs. Likewise, a fat person promotes a lazy lifestyle where people think, oh, I could just let myself go and there would be no shame involved. That is pleasurable, let me do that. Not everyone is like this. Some people resist, of course. I hope the majority of people would and not be incepted, but some people don't. And this is how cultural cycles are born.
I have abused my body. Will the agreeers step forward?
Okay.
I'll start
let's
by
see.
saying I've abused my body many times. Being a bodybuilder, a professional bodybuilder, I've abused steroids, did that for over 10 years. I don't think you can get to the level that you have to get to be at to be a professional bodybuilder while being natural. And so absolutely. And I would say that somebody trying to abuse steroids to get that muscle, to get that look is just as unhealthy as somebody who's obese. So I don't try to be a hypocrite. I say,
Look at the guy on the right. Look at the look he's
I'm 48
giving.
now. I don't do steroids anymore. And so I recognize that what I did in the past was bad, probably took
Greg,
years off
you
my
aren't
life.
healthy,
And so
you're
I
doing
would say to
steroids.
people who are overweight, why don't you do the same thing? And if you're not, then do you really care about your health? Because if you do, you would stop doing the things that are leading to being morbidly obese. And if we call it shaming, why are you abusing steroids, Greg? Think of it. Think of the years you're taking off your life. Maybe I would have waited.
But the power was in
The reason why this doesn't work is because of the hedonistic nature of these pursuits. I think it's important to point out the reason why it's impossible to get through these huge bodybuilders who are killing themselves is because they love it. The drugs make them feel good. It makes them feel good about their body. Their brains are soaked with their hormones. So you're talking to a wall. The guy is going to laugh in your face or he's going to play dumb. They do it all the time. It's the same with fat people. Being fat and stuffing your face feels good as you do it. Of course, afterwards it comes with horrible consequences and it might make your mental health tank. But in these moments of glutinous fatness, you're the happiest person on earth. It's something that comedian Gabriel Iglesias says in one of his specials. You've never seen a sad person at a fast food restaurant. Everyone is enjoying themselves. These people are going to regret it when they go home, but in the moment, they're doing great. This is the issue. You have to be able to go around the pleasure and be like, and explain to people, okay, pleasure, sure, but what about the rest? What about the consequences?
I think that somebody's overweight, they're going to think the same things. Like if you're 400, 500, 600 pounds, you're going to think, is it worth doing this? Is it worth eating all the time? It's tough.
I think this is the first like actual middle ground I think we're finding, which is really great because it's true. I mean, I've been harmful to myself on both sides of the spectrum. There were times I was taking, 20 to 30 diet pills and laxatives a day, eating less than 400 calories a day, working out nonstop. And then there's the other times where I was eating way too much, smoking way too much, drinking way too much, and abusing my body. But you could have done the same thing taking steroids. That's
exactly.
my
I
whole
could
thing.
have died doing what I did. And so is it not my responsibility to tell people, don't copy me? And so would it not be somebody who's,
And I don't think there's
500
anything wrong with
pounds
that.
to do
I
the
think-
same thing?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Even when you said before, you're like, well, I wish someone had shamed me saying, what are you going to do? You're going to kill yourself. That's not shaming to me. To me, that is compassionate and looking out for somebody. It's when you take it to the other level where you start insulting them, degrading them, making them feel like shit.
As
That
men,
doesn't-
we
So this is the question of content versus form. And this is very important to understand, especially if you are quote unquote like me or like these guys who are more on the masculine willpower side of the discussion. If you try and get at people with the same energy that you get at yourself, you're gonna fail. If you use your inner voice that I also have, that is a very mean inner voice, that motivates only you. A lot of people don't like that, they are turned off by it. So this is when empathy and compassion comes into play. This is a tool. It's a mechanism you use to get to people, to touch their hearts. But this is what makes all of the difference, because I perfectly agree that there used to be a time where there was a lot of fat shaming content. And I say fat shaming because this was not content made to make fat people better or to make them realize the errors of their way. It was content strictly to make them feel bad about themselves, which of course does nothing. It was created by people who are simply vicious and cruel. Likewise, it is absolutely possible to make anti-steroid content that is unhelpful because you are just being mean. It personally is something that I try not to do. When I make anti-PD content, I try to explain to you the issues of the mindset and why you shouldn't replicate it. It comes from a place of empathy because I know I've been tempted. I know where it comes from. And this, to me, has the higher chance of actually making a positive modification in people's minds.
I would say also that there's so much pressure to look like us, and it's causing people to develop body dysmorphia. And so this is a huge problem. So when you swipe on Instagram, you're being shown the top 1% of the top 1%. They all have a six-pack abdominals. Everyone feels inferior. Then that causes a whole host of problems, eating disorders, people feeling like shit.
This is coming from the guy that used to say that if you don't have a six-pack, you're fat. It fascinates me, the ability of people to sit there and say, oh yeah, society is toxic. Your society. You are. It came from you. There are videos. We can go back in time. All of the information is there. Don't turn around and pretend like it was
when
your
you
like
look in the
evil
mirror,
twin.
And then they keep looking for information, and then what information they're getting, half of it's wrong, like you were just describing. And so where do we go from there? There's no solution.
But that right there is what keeps guys like us out of getting into fitness.
Shouldn't it do the opposite though?
No one wants to be told they're a piece of
If
shit.
I was being made fun of all the time for being
The same water that boils the egg and hardens the egg softens the potato. Some people don't like it when someone yaps at them like a chihuahua saying, "You're stupid, you're fat, you're a moron." Some people prefer positive reinforcement. The majority of people prefer positive reinforcement. If you are only able to dish out insults and negativity, you're a bad teacher. Because this means that essentially the only people you're going to be able to touch are people just like you. So you're going to just create an army of clones that are exactly like you. The best sign that someone is a good educator in the fitness sphere is that they're able to touch people who are unlike them. So for example, for Fit Bro over here, who has swallowed the entire bottle of red pills, he would actually earn his gallons as a teacher if tomorrow he had a wave of, let's say, left-wing feminists that started to join his page saying, "Oh, you changed my view on fitness, I'm going to start getting fit." That would mean something. Having 40, 15-year-olds who are all about women are evil and alpha this, alpha that follow him just means that he's a mirror. He only manages to reverberate with people and to attract people who are like him. What is the point of that? This is why I like the idea of nuance. It's because when you're nuanced, you open yourself up to the possibility of touching people who should not be able to listen to you, but who certainly are.
Adding value and decreasing time and decreasing the amount of effort is going to give you guys so much more emphasis or ability to achieve the result and more motivation to achieve said result than being like, "Oh, you're fat, what the fuck?" You know what I mean? So that's just my
Well,
take
it's
on
because
it.
the fitness industry overcomplicates it so that they can monetize it. So if
So
they
why-
tell
is
you,
that
"Oh,
their
I got
fault?"
the secret sauce," well, this is why it's important to acquire knowledge and be able to, whether you go ahead and do your own research. And again, it comes back to doing the work, and people get so mad like, "Oh, why is this hard?" Do your research, look at the studies.
The issue is that it's the snake that bites its own tail, because I also agree that it should be easy. It should be simple to tell who's a charlatan and who isn't. But the problem is that I know that because I have a baggage of knowledge and I have experience in the gym. A lot of people simply do not have that. So when you tell them, "Oh, just do your research," they're going to end up on the page of someone who feeds them misinformation. They're going to follow that. They're going to get no result. They're going to get discouraged. You're basically playing Russian roulette, because if you end up on the page of some like 17-year-old jackass who's on trend, your fitness journey is going to be garbage. And if you're lucky enough to find one of the few gems that actually give you good information for free, then you're going to be on point. But you didn't really choose which one. The algorithm decided who they're going to feed you. And the algorithm, by and large, feeds steroid users to people, very young influencers to people, because they're the ones who are closest in age with the demographic. And so it is actually a machine that creates failure.
Fitness studies out there, there's no secrets. It's just discipline and sustainability over a period of time.
Have you guys ever been confused about how to get and stay in shape based on the information that's out there?
Yeah. Totally. I would never, ever take advice from you. To get that advice or to gain that knowledge because of whatever this disposition it is that you have going on, right?
What's the disposition?
Can you describe it?
I mean,
I think I just
Antagonistic,
I wouldn't
motherfucker. Belligerent.
enable it toxic, but I think
These people don't even realize that they have become magnets for people just like them, but because you're a magnet, you're also a repellent for something else. So yeah, of course, a gay fat dude is not going to vibe with Fresh and Motherfucking Fit, because Fresh and Fit has made the gay fat dude his anti-target audience. He has made him the scapegoat of his worldview. And then you wonder why the guy doesn't fucking like you. I love the fact that Kevin said disposition. He's very polite.
Around you that I think is kind of really warped, and I don't understand why, and I would like to understand why, and I'm not getting it, because you're like, shame is the answer and stuff like that, but
It's worked for
not.
centuries.
It's not, though. It's why you have so much conflict. It's why we're literally sitting here today having this discussion.
So here's the thing. You operate on what's ideal. I operate on what's real. And the reality is that...
Oh, come the fuck on. Shut the fuck up. Anyone who's watching this video, do you follow this guy? are you actually following this idiot? Because I can tell you one thing, this guy is narrowing your perspective so that it fits neatly into the tiny box that he calls a brain. If I can give you any advice, even if you don't necessarily like me, unfollow this guy and go follow someone else.
Much colder and harder place than you think it is, but you want to, people to
You're
just
projecting, bro.
understand
You're
you
just
and
like me.
see your perspective and see you
You're
as how
misanthropic.
you see yourself. The reality is the world's never going to see you how you see yourself. They're going to see you on how you display yourself to them. And when you are fat, out of shape, etc., the people, and if they don't get to know you and talk to you and have a conversation with you, they're going to assume certain things. That's just the world that we live in.
Just to dig a little deeper into that, has something happened to you to confirm that observation that you have?
No, I mean, I just live in
Good
objective
question.
reality, and objective reality isn't as nice as you think it is.
So you're not drawing from a
Objective
personal
reality
experience.
doesn't mean
I'm
anything.
speaking fairly
Reality is
objectively,
subjective.
Dad. These are the conversations that people have behind closed doors, but they don't want to say out loud because for fear of cancellation, for fear of coming off as an asshole, etc. I'm just saying how people really feel, but they're scared to say it.
Coming from whether the fitness
He's brutally honest, guys. Totally. It's not that he's an asshole that is incapable of shifting perspective or understanding someone else's viewpoint. No, he holds the universal truth, and he's kind enough to share it with the peasants that we are. Thank you very much.
The shame attitude has kept a lot of people out of it. I've been doing fad diets since I was 12 years old. I was put on Weight Watchers. I did Atkins. I did paleo. I did everything you could possibly imagine. And not until I started following other influencers that were more proactive based on, I want to be around for my daughter for as long as I possibly can be. I want to give my body the function it needs.
Be around for the people that love you.
Basic mind shift. Hey, life can get a lot better. To me, I don't know everyone in the fitness industry, but I know for me personally, it totally changed my relationship with fitness when I started realizing that it was a gross benefit instead of a punishment I had to put onto myself for not being disciplined enough.
Yes. The sadomasochistic approach to lifting and bodybuilding needs to fucking die. Because it's stupid. It's something that people do out of ego to feel badass and hardcore, but it's not badass or hardcore. It's just destructive. It is self-destructive, and it's not going to be conducive to you sticking to it or even loving what you do. If you hate going to the gym, guess what? You're not going to go to the gym for a very long time. You should be like a kid in a toy store when you go to the gym. Your fitness pursuit should be the thing that is a passion to you that you enjoy doing the most. If it becomes a hindrance to your life, what are the chances of you reaching a high level? Zero.
For people like you to maybe respect me, who, again, we don't know each other in reality. So why am I destroying my life so you will respect me one day?
Well, going to the gym and
no one
training
gives a
isn't gonna
fuck about
destroy your
you.
life.
And it does
It's going to enhance it, if anything.
But I'm saying,
Bro, you're sitting next to two men who are going to die way before they see their 60s because they took it to a self-destructive level by taking PEDs. This is the issue when you have no ability to take a step back and look at the inadequacies of your ideology. Fitness ideology, masculine willpower-based ideology, yes, creates heroes and yes, has always created heroes. That's what mythology is about. But it also creates broken husks of humans who are left on the wayside because your practice is essentially one that allows one person to go through and then 9 to be destroyed. And this is actually a net negative. We need to refine the process to save as many people as possible. And of course, you can't save people who don't want to be saved, but there is a middle ground. And that middle ground represents a large amount of the demographic of people who cannot stick to fitness for that reason.
We all just want to know when shame motivated you to be better.
Me personally?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking in general here as
No,
far
I know,
as like
but don't
shame
speak
working.
general.
But
Speak for yourself, personally. When did shame change your life?
oh well, here's the thing. I think every man growing up has been shamed to some degree, where they're like, you know what, I need to improve this. Whether they grew up
No,
skinny.
You though.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was skinny, right? And then I got picked on, and I was like, okay, I'm either gonna let this define me or I'm gonna overcome. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to the gym and start training.
But does it work in any other interpersonal relationship? Like, have your parents ever shamed you, come down on you, made you feel like shit?
Absolutely.
Did you
I thank them
deserve
for it.
all of it, 100% of it?
No, absolutely, they shame me, and I think that's fantastic. And I think that's a part of your parents' job is to.
This is, it's Stockholm Syndrome. And it's something that I can relate to because I was also in the same situation. A level of shame pushed me towards building my body and becoming the man that I am today. Because I had a choice. Either be a victim or become the guy who cannot be victimized. And I picked the second option. That being said, I also perfectly recognize that a lot of the shame that I received came from people who had no business dealing it because they themselves sucked. And this is where there is really nuance and perspective and balance to be added. Some people are going to shame you because they don't feel good about themselves, and it's a way to put you down. Not all shame is born equal. Some shame can be born out of love and concern. Some of it can be born off of jealousy and off of people's own sense of insecurity and inadequacy. Chances are, if you are someone whose parents shame them all the time, it's because your parents were also mediocre pieces of shit. They saw you as a reflection of them, and because you are their kids and you are easy picking, they donated all of that shit onto you. A good parent would have provided you guidance. They wouldn't have went out of their way to make you feel bad about you. They would have tried to make you a better person because you are a direct consequence of their education. If you suck, let's say some parents watch me right now and they say, oh, I have a 14-year-old, he's a loser. It's because you're a loser. You raised your kid to be a loser. Don't be surprised about the consequences of your education system. If you have kids that end up being hyper successful, in a sense, they also owe it to you. If you have kids that end up doing nothing with their lives, become drug addicts, become criminals, that also is a reflection of you. And this is something that parents don't like. So instead, they shame you as if you came out of thin air, a creation of the skies, and they had nothing to do with it. Even parts of your personality and behavior towards the world comes from them because it comes from their fucking DNA. So this is really something that I want you guys to take to heart if you are young. Do not let your parents or authority figures dictate the way you feel about yourself. Build it. Create something you can be proud of. Don't allow these motherfuckers to make you feel like you are lesser than, because it's not true. It's just a reflection of how they feel about themselves.
Well, can
Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, etc. It's a big problem.
Do you really mean that, or are you just saying that?
I'm dead ass. Yeah. If I was president, make me president, I would get rid of the obesity problem like that. I'm gonna lock these dudes up in a concentration camp where we're gonna get them healthy food, we're gonna get them exercising, and I'm looked at as crazy.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess there's a distinction between having.
The guy is essentially arguing for a fit-based dictatorship. So we're going to allow the person that lives the most or has the most shredded six-pack to be the ruler. This is the issue. Of course, this idea might be tantalizing to some of you guys, and you think, well, it would be great if everyone that disagrees with me or I think are degenerates are sent into camps. Yes. What happens the day the power shifts? And suddenly the person in power decides and considers you as a degenerate because you do something they don't like. Now you end up in a camp. Do you still like this system of dictatorship? No. This is the reason why authoritarianism is a false recourse. It's because it might work as a last resort solution in the instant, but in the long term as a political system, it always degenerates because you cannot allow a single individual to hold that type of power, especially not this guy. Can you imagine if this guy becomes the dictator of your country?
Like, you approached it from a place of shame, and like
That
most
love
of
is
us
so
have
fake.
blatantly told you that shame didn't really work. Shame is what led me to an eating disorder. Shame is what led me to unsustainable weight loss.
Whose fault
When
is that,
what
though?
we're looking for is
Whose fault is that?
stability.
Well, it's not about fault. See, here's the issue. And I get that. It's the Jordan Peterson way of thinking about the world. I'm exactly like this too. We're all about personal responsibilities. It's because it works for us. It's because we are the type of people who can vibe with that shit because we can take that personal responsibility. Sadly, a lot of people struggle with that. And it might be through nurture. It might be through the culture they live in. If you live in the West, you live in a culture that through and through has an agency of making you get rid of your personal responsibility because it's comfortable. And if you have been raised like this, it's extremely hard to retake your agency because you have to relearn it. Once you have it, of course, it's smooth sailing, but to get it back,
and I'm just grasping at straws on how I do it, yeah, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, so whose fault is it that they chose an unsustainable route to lose weight? That's your fault.
it's not a blame game, though.
I don't know if you've caught on to this, but you're a professional victim. You constantly blame others for your inadequacies and why you're fat. The reason why
Professional
you're
victim,
fat-
take a
I haven't
shot.
blamed not one person for where I am.
Yeah,
He hasn't. He's right. He hasn't blamed anyone else. Like at the start, he spoke about like systemic issues that relate to fatness, and he had a point. He was a little bit too extreme, but he's taking responsibility. See, this is the issue with this fresh and fit guy. He has this like idea of who the opponent is, and he's just projecting. But the issue is that it's a straw man because it's not true. Like Tevin has been nothing but constructive, and he's given really, really good reasons and arguments to explain why his situation and his perspective would allow more people to go from obese to less obese and to fit. fresh and fit, if he was given free rein over the world, wouldn't be able to deal with obesity. He would be able, if he just sent every single fat person into a camp to be processed into meat, that yes, because if you kill the problem, you get rid of the problem. But his inability to be empathic makes him completely unable and inadequate as a teacher. And I personally think that this is a mask. It's not even real, because times and times again, he was confronted with his own emotions and he chose to run away. That's not very masculine, that's not very alpha. We're dealing with someone who is following a step-by-step blueprint on how to be a male, how to be alpha, because deep down he, I think, understands that he's none of these things. It's a farce, it's a procedure, it's a carnival of sorts. And Tevin has seen right through this bullshit. The reason why obese parents create obese children is for this very reason, and obese adults. It's because as a kid, it is not your fault. If you see a kid that's obese, that kid doesn't have a job at Tesco to then go to a supermarket to buy food or to go to like McDonald's. He's eating what is presented to him. So a fat kid is the consequence of the parent's education, and it's the fault of the parent. But the issue is that that kid has been taught habits that they're going to carry on to their adult life that is going to keep them fat. So if a fat person tells you, it wasn't really my fault, it's how I was raised, they have a fucking point. And if you are just like me, you were raised by parents who had a fucking brain and who gave you balanced meals and you were skinny or normal your entire life, guess what? The fact that you have a very easy time not getting obese as an adult is a consequence of that. You have to accept this. And once you accept this, then we can come to a discussion about what do we do for people who do not have these mechanisms put in place? How do we do to give them back this accountability?
You can close your mouth. Like, I don't have to eat, you know. But when I finally made that change in my head, I realized that where you're at, given like the ideal circumstances, it is your choice. I am where I'm at now because I made a series of wrong choices and didn't handle myself correctly.
I mean, you deserve to be depressed if you're fat. I mean, the reality
Piece
is
of shit. The guy has been complaining, oh, fat people don't take accountability. You have a guy who straight up says, Rich says, I'm accountable for this. And what does this guy do? Oh, you're a piece of shit. He's just feeding cycles of negativity. He is actually useless. This person is responsible directly for harm inflicted onto his audience because of that, because of his inability to just shut his fucking mouth. I thought Greg was going to be the worst. He's the worst by far.
That's fucking wild. That's fucking wild.
It's
The
not.
earth is flat.
A lot of the times when people are depressed, it's because of their own inadequacies. You're messing up in
So if
something
you get
in your
raped,
life.
Is that an inadequacy?
He doesn't
'Cause people
mean in
get
all
depressed from that.
cases.
No, he's saying like in the majority.
When you see a
That's-
blanket
yeah.
statement,
There's
like
always
that,
going to be
right?
exceptions, but I'm speaking generally in
I
this
want to
context.
point out the fact that if Zach wanted to stand up and fuck this guy up, he could do it easily. Because fat or not fat, he clearly is bigger and stronger than this guy. So thank God for civility. Thank God that the age of barbarianism and hyper-masculine energy is far gone. Because if it was still there, someone would go home without a head attached to his shoulders.
Being fat and why you were depressed, it's because
That wasn't the only reason why I was depressed, but go on.
okay,
Yeah.
but it's a component. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
it was a big component,
It was
for
a
sure.
response to your
Yeah.
inadequacy as a man. And the thing is that we live in a meritocracy. I know everyone likes to run around and say, "Oh, everyone's equal and it's all equality for everyone." No, that's not how the world works.
This is exactly the reason why I struggle to call myself anti-egalitarianism, because I'm going to be lumped in with people like him.
Are you getting the notions that people are not disciplined? Where is that coming from?
If you look at depressed guys, etc., look at their life. 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to the gym. They're not making the money that they're supposed to be making. They're not where they need to be. Show me a guy that's making money, successful, has a good set of friends around him, has a network, etc., that is depressed. You would rarely find that. Are there exceptions to the rule?
so many-
Of course.
there
There's
are
always
so
there's
many
always
people.
there's always
There are so many examples. And also he's conflating the impact that misery has on someone in depression. Yeah, of course, if you live in a fucking rat hole with roaches and you can't pay your rent and you don't have food, you're going to have a general sense of sadness. That's sometimes also manifested as depression, but he's essentially saying that if you don't have money and you're not doing good in life, you're not feeling good. Yeah, no duh, motherfucker. That's not what's being argued here.
Understand that it's not black and white.
when you get depressed, a lot of the times it's because you're
He cannot
affected
understand that
your
it's
body's
not black and
natural
white.
response
The guy
to
is
being
he's a
Does
printer.
anyone here ever
He's a
felt
mink
like they didn't
printer.
have control over their body or their physique?
There's times where I felt like I didn't have the control I wanted, but there was never a point where I'm like, this isn't within my ability to do.
Yeah, I think we all go through stages, especially mental
Yeah,
health.
you wish it was easier sometimes, but other than that, it's like, no, of course I'm in control of it. I know I am.
Yeah, 'cause you have to understand that willpower is not a constant. Willpower fluctuates. I have certain days where I feel like I can conquer the wood and I can bend the wind to my will. And I have other days where I'm like, shit, I don't have that agency today. I don't feel it in me. Where does that come from? Fluctuations in mood, fluctuations in hormones. You're not always king of the wood. You cannot always be king of the wood. And if you meet someone who tells you that they are, they're lying to you, which shows that they're not able to showcase vulnerability and so that they have something to hide. And that something to hide is the part of them that they should be sharing with the wood.
That's why we all sat down. I totally agree. It's within because I've gotten really svelte in my past, but I was at like my worst state mentally, like didn't feel good, wasn't prioritizing the things that meant something to me in my life, my career, my family, my daughter. Health is still super important to me. That's why I still work out, still lift, still do cardio, still hike, still bike, still do all those things. The amount of time I've had to spend in the past to get to that isn't worth it in my daily life. I'd rather spend that time, focusing on that.
Also, would you agree, like looking at his physique, like he's at a perfectly, I would say, maybe healthy.
No.
You think?
He's definitely overweight, definitely obese.
I mean, if you count BMI,
I'm not trying to put you down, just being honest.
Here's the thing. And this is what I told you to keep in mind the realistic expectations and standards that Greg was talking about. There are two woods. There's bodybuilding wood and there's the real wood with real people. In the bodybuilding wood, I, myself here, I'm fat. I'm fat as fuck. I have no real definition. When I'm flat like this, you don't see a pump. You don't really see the striations or nothing. So I'm fat. Does that make me real wood fat? Fuck no. No sane person would look at me and say this person is fat. I have a six pack, I'm huge. But there is this difference in standard. Zach sitting there, yeah, he is chubby and from what I can tell, he has like a bit of a spider physique because he has a ton of visceral fat. Would I look at this person and say, oh, you're obese and a monstrosity? No, he's someone that has a few 10, 20, 30 pounds to lose, and frankly, he looks good. And I'm not surprised to hear that he is married with a wife and with kids, because I know a lot of women who a 6'4" dude like this, with like a shapely beard and blue eyes, they'd be like, yeah, you're 30 pounds overweight, but I don't really give a fuck. Why? Because women, and this is something that the fresh and fit guy should learn about more, care for a plethora of factors: humor, charisma, kindness, ability to provide resources, strength, power, status, etc. Men care about one thing pretty much, and that is physique. How does the woman look? That is true. So when you have these masculinity gurus who tell you women only care about one thing, no, you only care about one thing and you're projecting. Proof of the matter, this guy Zach here is doing tremendous in life. And someone like Greg, who says, oh, he's definitely obese, is completely delusional because he's looking at it from his lens, a lens that, yes, has produced body dysmorphia because Greg on his channel has projected the way he feels about himself onto his audience and he has created more people like him. Just like it is possible for fat people to poison the well and create more people like themselves. On this discussion of fat versus fit, both sides of the room have had a negative impact on the people that they speak to. And I'm certain, actually, that the fat people on this side of the room have had less of a negative impact on people's lives than the ones on the left.
By a BMI standpoint,
but there's a big difference between
obese.
this weight and if you gain 200 pounds. But if you gain 200 pounds, it'd be like, why are you doing this to yourself? You know what I mean?
But I wouldn't be happy gaining 200 pounds. That's kind of what I'm saying. Is I kind of found kind of like a homeostasis where I'm happy and I feel healthy and I feel active and I feel like I can do what I need to do. All my numbers are in the right place.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine, by the way. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. This is a bodybuilding channel, so my goal is to get you as big and jacked as possible. But if you tell me, hey, I'm happy the way I am with like a dad bod and I have a great family life and a social life, a good job, and I feel good and I'm healthy, bro, live your best fucking life. Don't force your body to look the way other people want it to look. If you can love yourself the way you are and you're satisfied, by all means do it. You're building the statue for yourself, not for other people. Fuck other people.
What's sustainable is different for everyone, right? I think there's a way to weave in fitness in your life in a sustainable manner that might not encompass you losing a ton of weight. I think people kind of have different stages in life where they're focusing on different things, and I think that's something I can completely respect.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, as long as you know that you have the agency to actually make that change,
Yeah.
when the time comes, when you want to do it, Like, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I was very curious, out of show of hands,
Final thoughts.
who here feels like after spending time in
That was a good
this
debate.
space, you feel like you're closer to understanding the other side than when we stepped in the room?
Yeah. A little surprised.
I understand it less. Literally.
Greg is so weird
We can't.
because you can tell that he's trying to project this idea to like for his business, but he also asked very interesting questions and he was insightful many times. So I don't know if it's the cognitive dissonance again. The rest of the room, like save for the fresh and fit dude, they vibe. Like you can tell that they exchange stuff, and I hope that they go home and like that they have learned something from the other side, because that's what we're here for. We're not the same, and that's great because we can learn from one another. It doesn't mean that you have to let other people shape your view of the world or even this video, but I hope that after this react, it allowed you to maybe start considering things and aspects of life that you didn't really thought about because they weren't part of your day-to-day existence. And that is going to conclude this video and this first format. So it's really hard for me to know if this is good or not, because I'm literally just reacting to what I'm hearing. I'm going to edit this together to make it snappy. Now I'm waiting for you guys. Tell me, did you like it? Is this the type of format you want to see more of? Because I could make more react. I mean, as long as you send me videos and content, I would be happy to. So it's going to depend entirely on your reception. Likewise, if you want to vote, you can do it by simply going on Coffee. And if you pledge, that tells me something, because, well, usually people only pledge for videos that they like. So if I see that a lot of people are interested in that, I will be making more. And if not, this will be the first and last time I make a react video on this channel. I'm going to wish you a very good rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Have a good training or whatever you're going to do afterwards.